Let's roll. Let's roll off attention.
All right. Well,
Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so professional, Nikki.
That's something happening with the energy in the room today. It's very low.
low. Well, it's sizzling because we're talking about Conan today.
Yeah,
It should be. It should be.
One of the tales. One of the tales in which he shows to best advantage, in my opinion.
Really?
A well-rounded character in this story. Well, he is in all the stories, really, but he's a responsible chap in this story, which is not true in all of them. Like, if you think of his piratical exploits in Queen of the Black Coast and his treachery in Vale of Lost Women, there's none of that here. He's the sort of chap you very much want to have on your side if you're trying to settle in Pict land. In fact, of course, the best thing is to follow his advice and not do it at all, because he thinks the whole colonization venture in the far west is a bad idea.
And he's proven right at the end of the story.
He's proven right.
Barbarianism, wins over civilization.
Yes. And also another reason why this shows him as a very sympathetic character is that it's a tale, in a way, of partial failure on Conan's part. Very unusual in the corpus of Conan stories.
That's true.
He undertakes to do his best to save Fort Tuscalan, and in fact he can't. It's too difficult even for Conan to do that. Although he does what probably no one else could have done, which is saves the lives of most of the settlers around in this country around. Anyway, really, the dominant aspect of the story, in a way, is not so much Conan himself as the amazingly menacing, brooding forest in which all the characters in the tale move, the far west forest of Pictland. And another thing to say about this remarkable story is there's a very sympathetic character, Balthus, a recent immigrant into the area, a younger chap than Conan, and he's eager to do well. And I won't say what happens to him, but it's the...
Why not? I mean, I'm going to talk about what happens to him.
Okay, but before we actually do, what's the title of the story, guys?
Who cares?
The title of the story, as you would know if you'd read it, is Beyond the Black River.
Yeah, I mean, it'll say down below anyway.
Yeah, but I thought it's nice to know what we're talking about.
Sorry about that.
Did you not read it? So you need to know the title to quickly look at the summarization.
I'm only kidding. I know you've read it. Beyond the Black River, and the title is good as well. That's another good thing about the story.
Yeah, Beyond the Black River.
Right. So this is Kaz's first Conan story ever.
Conan Virgin. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
No longer.
Yeah.
No longer.
No longer.
That's
no
right.
longer. Okay.
So what do you think, Kaz? Yeah.
With these two fanboys here, Nikki and Rob, right? I mean, absolute fanboys, and they built up Robert E. Howard's Conan series so much, especially Nikki, right? It was just like, oh, Conan, and here, let me throw my underwear at you.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's right.
Swoons at Conan's feet.
At Conan. So, okay, so this is my all I knew about Conan before now was Arnold Schwarzenegger's movie, right? Okay, that was it. That was the beginning and the end of
that
my
was a pretty good
experience
movie.
of Conan.
I like it.
Okay, right, okay. Mm-hmm. So I read the story, all right, okay. And honestly, I mean, seriously, guys, I am a total fan. I loved it.
Cool.
2 thumbs up. It was just like, I mean, I grew up on H. Rider Haggard. Okay? Yes? And I just used to love those H. Rider Haggard adventure stories. But the Conan story by Howard took the adventure from Haggard and it raised it. Because Conan was such a thinking person. Conan actually had intellect. He was able to reason. He was just so smart, and he was a very strategic thinker. And to me, that is my weak spot. And and then him just going through and slashing through skull. Although that was the only problem that I had was why does the skull have to get slit? Why can't we just have a disembowelment every now and then? Right? Why can't we have something piercing the aorta and blood gushing? Why does it always have to be the brain?
Yeah.
However,
yeah, exactly.
Right?
Conan is an unimaginative butcher.
Yeah, killer. Right, butcher. Yes, exactly.
There is no need for imagination when you're trying to survive, ladies and gentlemen. You just go to the most direct approach.
But Conan is different.
Destroy the brain.
But it's Conan. He has all of that spare time to think of inventive ways to kill people. I'm
ways
sure.
to split their heads open.
Just live like.
I loved the character. I loved the story. Congratulations, you have just won yourselves another Conan fan. Yeah,
Cool.
absolutely.
All right, man.
Yeah. That
awesome.
And that's for me.
All right, Nikki, this was your pick, I think.
No, it wasn't. It was
Rob's.
It was Rob. Well, Nikki, as the resident Conan fan, tell us what you think about it.
Okay, that I will agree on. All right,
Yes.
so Beyond the Black River is the longest of the three stories that we read about Conan on the podcast. We first looked at the Tower of the Elephant, which is it is basically a story about Conan at the very beginning of his life as an adventurer, trying to basically make a name for himself.
Wait.
The story.
Wait. You said Conan is in the beginning of his life in Beyond the Black River? Are you sure?
No, the Tower of the Elephant.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. Please continue.
No problem. You can replay the podcast to hear what I was actually saying.
Okay.
So the first story that we looked into was the very beginning of Conan's life, right? He's a thief. The story of the Tower of the Elephant basically starts with him being in the bar as someone tells him, "You can't get this done," and he goes, "Yeah, I can, because I'm Conan." And he's like, "Who's Conan?" "I'm Conan." And he punches him in the face, and then he goes and does it. Basically, right?
A bit more subtle than that. But,
yeah, but look, we don't have like 3 hours for me to gush about how great the Tower of the Elephant is. But instead, it's a very classical adventure in sort of like a fantastical.
Everything starts from a tavern.
Yeah, that's right. This is correct. So, and then the second story that we looked into was more like a procedural drama, like a detective story, right? The God in the Ball. It was regarding the situation of Conan being caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. Damn it. How is he going to get out? And Beyond the Black River is basically, from the way I understand it, it's like a reverse Western. It has a lot of elements of a Western story, especially like the cowboys and Indian type of scenario. Picts being the Indians, obviously, in this situation. The new frontier opening up. And Conan is placed into this situation as a much more mature man. And he gets to see the end of the story right at the beginning. Right in the first chapter, he basically tells Balthus how this thing is going to end. That, yeah, all right, you can fight a tribe of these people. You can fight 3 tribes united of these Picts, but soon, very soon, they will unite. And they will take what is theirs, because you're in their lands. Right. So, but he, again, even by his own admission at the beginning of the story, he's just there to make money, to make coin. Because being a mercenary around these parts is very fruitful. he is actually on a payroll of the officials of the current large settlement. What was the name of the settlement? Does anyone remember?
Fort Tuscalan.
Tuscalan. Okay. Yeah. So, and I think the name of the dude that he was serving was something like with V.
Valanis?
Yeah, Valanis. That's right, Valanis. So Valanis has hired him.
Have you read the story, Nikki?
Yeah, I did. I just never remembered these names. I don't know why. I think it's because
he reads them so quickly because he's just so engrossed.
No, I think it's because the story was more than 10,000 words, so that's automatically like I can't remember any good detail. But yeah, so Valanis, the governor of of the surrounding area, has basically hired Conan to be his man in the woods, and Balthus is constantly shown how Conan is just cooler, right, than him. And Balthus is basically representing civilization in the story. He is the point of civilization, and Conan is the barbaric notions of power.
Oh, hold on just a sec, because Balthus did think of himself as a woodsman, right? So Balthus actually is even from the beginning, he comes across as a very competent person who is not a complete urbanite, right? He knows how to navigate around in the forest and everything. But Conan is just so much better than him.
But this is what I'm talking about. So Balthus is the best of what the civilization has to offer as a warrior. Conan is the best that the wilds have to offer as a warrior, and we can see that although he's just as he's a good fighter, he's no match.
I didn't get that sense that Balthus was meant to represent anything, to be honest. What I get the sense of, I think
Arch, you're gonna be surprised. Balthus is a stand-in for Robert E. Howard, as he wrote himself.
Possibly. Possibly.
And no, not possibly. This is fact. Robert E. Howard said that.
Okay.
Yeah. And not only that, but the dog Slasher is also a dog that Robert E. Howard used. Yeah, I remember Slasher because that's an easy name to remember. I'm dumb.
And it's a dog.
And it's a dog. That's true. But yeah, Slasher is also a representation of a dog that Robert E. Howard had during his life.
Well, I did feel that Balthus was a vehicle for something, but I thought he was just meant to be inserted there to make Conan look better.
Well, he is, definitely, because the comparison of the entire story is civilization versus the wild, and the wild wins. Right? That's the end of the story. The last sentence basically confirms this. Right? As basically we get to see that, in fact, civilization is unnatural. It is a whim of circumstance, and barbarism must always ultimately triumph.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
There's also a very important supernatural element in the story. The actual animal kingdom is brought in as well, and that's a very nice touch.
Oh yeah. All right. Yeah. That's so. So you can definitely see that this story is written after the fact that of Robert starting his communication with H.P. Lovecraft, right? The old gods of the ancient ruins and stuff like that. Definitely something he had before in his stories, but there's a particular line where he says the old gods sleep, and one day they may awaken, and that's basically H.P. Lovecraft in a sentence, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But even Lovecraft didn't actually make the link between that and the animal consciousness. Not all animals, but some remember a very old, might call it a religion, really. There seem to be hints that it's alien in origin. But anyway, I think that's a fascinating idea that a leopard, for example, can recognize a sign drawn in the ground.
That would be a panther.
A panther, right? But
Yes.
anyway,
I like correcting.
Roll of roll of being pedantic apparently tonight. Roll off it though. So the
No!
um,
I'm
yeah. Look, I'm not your what's it called? I'm not your charge. You can do whatever you like. It's true. But what's it called? There's a particular moment where they basically say that this god, the Zog, is such a powerful, such a vivid figure that both man and animal of old used to bow to him, right? And that's why the wizard, the priest, the powerful magician, the sorcerer is being helped by all these animals because they are just like him, old worshippers of this god. And we actually find out that not only is he like a worshipper, but he's like his son, the son of the god, right? So
yeah, that's a
I
bit
mean,
like
all thing-
in the Dunwich Horror. Yeah.
All things considered, though, I did find the death of his son to be a little bit anticlimactic. I actually wanted that description to just go on a little bit more, considering how the sorcerer had been built up so much. The actual scene where Conan dispatches him is just a little too short for my liking.
I agree.
Yeah,
Nikki
I would have
will, of
liked. I would have
course,
liked to.
agree.
Yeah, I would have liked a bit more drama around that.
Nikki can't have enough Conan.
I would have him fight that thing for 3 hours, just like continuous information of how he's struggling but how he's gonna kill it. My favorite passage from that particular moment was actually when he talks about that, like the reason he's kicking its ass is because fear had fought for it when it slew the other victims, and Conan was not afraid. He knew that any being clothed in material flesh can be slain by material weapons, however grisly it may be. Fucking God, Conan, kill it! Kill the fucking monster. I love it.
You see. I mean, you see, people. This is what we have to put up with because although Nikki is constrained to 1 hour while on the podcast, when we're off it, please, yes,
Okay.
send
Someone
whiskey.
stop him.
Send whiskey.
Okay, whiskey.
Whiskey.
Is that your drink of choice, Nikki?
My drink of choice is
No, it's mine.
whatever has alcohol.
Is you okay? It's Kaz's.
It's a food
I would-
group.
I like-
Everybody
I like-
knows whiskey is a food group. XJ.
I do.
It's a
I do
fruit
like
group,
whiskey as well.
right? No, I didn't.
me finish-
Consider me educated. Yes.
Let me finish what is it called? Actually, recapping what happens in the story. So so basically, Act 1, we get to find out Picts are bad. Act 2, Conan is like, I'm gonna deal with the Picts. They're like way too strong though. Act 3, we're fucked. Let's get out of here. But I get to kill the villain. That's the story.
That's a very good summary, I suppose.
Well, I was taking way too long with my detailed analysis, so just so that people who are like listening can, if they didn't read it, they can understand what's going on. Please go on, Rob.
There's just one little what I think might be an inconsistency in the story compared with some of the other stories. I'm not sure about this, but there's one place where he says in discussion with Valanus, "There's nothing in the universe cold steel won't cut," answered Conan. Now, I think that's an oversimplification of Conan's usual philosophy. I think he thinks there's nothing material in the universe, maybe, which cold steel won't cut. But in his career, he's met plenty of immaterial demons or monsters or whatever, and he knows that you can't. Cold steel is useless against those. So
when it doesn't have material flesh, obviously,
yeah, but it's still in the universe, it's still a force. Anyway, I suppose I'm quibbling, but it just that when I'm
No, it's good to be pedantic.
No, it's not. Both of you will. There's they say that there's 9 circles of hell. Like traitors are on the 9th. The 10th is for you people.
Yeah, it's okay. We own that place. It's different when
Hopefully.
It's different when you own the place,
That's true.
So XJ, what did you think? Because because we've got the two Conan fanboys, and now I am a converted fangirl myself, right? Born again fangirl. So what about you? What did you think?
It was a struggle to get through. But that was because I was quite ill when I was reading it
Ouch.
yesterday.
Yeah.
So basically I don't think I can do the story very much justice today, because yesterday I was quite ill, and I was like, when I was reading the story, like the words were just swimming. It's as if Zorga Sag reached out and casted a voodoo curse on me. Yeah,
You
but
should
I
have
thought,
told me. I would have read it to you. You would have called me and I
he
would have
he would have. He
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
absolutely
I would have,
would have.
because
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I would have.
I don't doubt that for a
yes,
second.
that's so sweet of you, Nikki. Allow me to take a pass on that. But I was quite taken with the very atmospheric description of the forest, like right in the beginning. It was very, very get a sense that it's a living creature on its own, and it has a very oppressive feel to it.
Atmosphere.
That is, yeah.
It's a shame that you were feeling unwell, because this story has so much world building in it.
It's true. It's true.
It's basically your thing.
He was Conan was basically dropping a lot of law bomb. Yeah, he was just like dropping. We call that law dump.
Law dump.
Yeah, he's talking about. I think the name of the god was Jabo Sag or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah,
I'm
that's
butchering
right.
the pronunciation.
Yeah.
Howard wasn't very good on names unless he managed to filch them from history and so on.
Like Ishtar,
well,
yeah.
like me, I suppose. I'm pretty bad with names. And I thought it's a very colorful expansion of the universe behind Conan's world. I thought, and I think the thing that most intrigued me was when he started to describe his career. He was like, he had been traveling to this place and that place when he was talking to Balthus, and I just caught myself thinking he was even a general once, and I was thinking, like, all this were all this in previous stories? How far is this chronologically when this was
Pretty
written?
far.
Pretty far.
Pretty
Yeah.
far.
That's what I thought. I mean, he even got himself a nice suit of chain shirt actually, which is back in the day, that's actually quite an impressive thing to have. It's quite expensive to maintain. And I thought, wow, Conan has come up in the world for sure.
Well, yeah, like last time we saw him, he was like being betrayed by the customer he was serving for,
Yeah.
right? And the god on the ball. And now the guy he serves like runs the town, right?
Yeah.
And he speaks to him directly, and he asks him, "Conan, could you please do this?"
Yeah,
Right?
and Conan pretty much comes and go as he pleases. He's a freelancer in the absolute literal sense of the word. Like, he's free.
And he helps himself to Valanis's wine as well. I mean, not only does he come and go, but he makes free with the stuff that the governor, or
warps.
whatever you want to call it, right, has got in his office.
Yeah.
So,
He's obviously made a name for himself. Balthus
right.
pretty much acknowledges that. He's like, oh, I've heard of you. You're that guy. Yeah.
Ah, yes, the person, the man I wanted to see.
Yes. So I thought it was very interesting, and I got to wondering, like, what's all the other story behind that, like all the places he's traveled, made me want to know more about that. Those are the things that I can remember enjoying up until the nausea took over, and I was like, oh my god, this is an ordeal. Which happened at the very end when he was leading he wasn't leading, but he was going back to Fort Tuscalan with Baltus.
Oh, after he killed the serpent.
Yes.
Back, actually.
Yeah. Oh, hey.
Damn, I am the one who jumped out this time. Okay.
There was a ripple in the force.
Indeed, there was. Zorga Sag's uneasy spirit lies still floats through the ether, I think.
Yeah, so you're talking about when he killed the serpent.
After he killed the serpent, and then he went trekking through the forest, running through the forest, and then he drew that sigil on the ground with the panther, and that's around the time when the story kind of lost meaning to me. Yeah, unfortunately, but I did enjoy everything up. I did enjoy everything up to that point. It was, I think the thing that struck me most while reading this story is how different every one of the Conan stories we have read thus far are. The God in the Bow really stands out as very, very different. It was like watching theater. It was like a play. Like the characters keep coming in, and then they exit, and then they come in. And this does have a feel of a Western, like Nikki said. And the very first one, the Tower of the Elephant, was just like a straight up adventure, Indiana Jones type story. Yeah, so it's all very different, and I think like it shows, to me, it does show that Robert E. Howard has flexibility as a writer, and that's a pretty amazing thing.
I think I hope we've given the impression to viewers that we're talking about someone who is a very great writer here. It's not just that his stories are full of action and so on. He's also good at suspense, which is almost the opposite of action, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Suspense is wondering what's going to happen, whereas action is the lesser of the two, I think. It's just, although Howard is supremely good at it, but he's good at both, and that's what makes him really good.
Yeah, absolutely. And his description of fighting scenes are always very vivid, and the pacing is well structured. It's well structured.
Yeah.
And pacing is everything in fight choreography, I would say. Yeah, that's my take. I did think that the Picts are a little bit cartoonish in their portrayal. They're like way too cartoonish. It's like, I don't think I've ever read a Pict in the story say anything other than yowls and grunts and whoops. And I thought, okay,
you probably wouldn't if you were in their forest. That's probably all you'd hear, I should think.
maybe, but you know,
get out
they
of my
were
house.
they were in the village for like a short spell of time, and I would have thought that at least Zorga Sag would the sorcerer would at least say something. It's more like a witch doctor, really. And I get the sense that the Picts are very the characterization is drawn very much from African tribes, or that conception of African tribes way back when. So I just thought that the Picts were not very well fleshed out. They were just like a cartoon.
Yeah, they're a force of nature in this story. He doesn't spend any time on trying to solidify them as something interesting culture-wise, or like He doesn't humanize them in any way, shape, or form. You're right.
Yeah. So to me, like the Picts could just be, I don't know, a goblin horde, except that there's no goblins in.
Right. Yeah,
So
they did.
yeah.
Yes, you're right. The orcs. Yeah, they were just this tsunami of orcs that are just going to descend on the fort
Yeah,
and take it over. Yes. Exactly.
So the only thing I didn't find interesting were the Picts. They were just like very meh. But,
Generic. Yeah, they're just sort of the
generic.
generic dangerous.
Yeah, there's just
deadly,
like zombies
but
in a zombie
generic.
movie,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Very little character and just cartoonish even. But aside from that, everything else was quite enjoyable while I could still enjoy it.
To be fair, on Howard wasn't necessarily anti-Pict, because in another of his characters, King Kull, who was a less one of his lesser heroes, weren't so many Kull stories as Conan stories. Kull is from Atlantis, and he goes to the mainland after Atlantis has sunk, and he has various adventures. And one of his best pals is a Pict. I just want to mention that.
That's interesting. I've never heard of what is this, King Cole?
Kull, Kull.
Kull.
Kaul, Cole.
Ku. That's it. Kull. Yeah. Anyway, I just thought I'd say. So you can't you can't accuse Howard of being anti-Pict.
Anti-Pict.
I'm sure the Picts are very happy that we do represent all views, and wish to let you know that nothing personal happened when they're talking about Picts and Beyond the Black River.
During the creation of Beyond Black River, no Picts were actually harmed.
No Picts were what?
Oh, well,
We're
of
actually
course they
harmed.
were. I mean, they blood.
It's like what they say at the end of the movie, where like no animals were harmed. Like
axes flying, whizzing through the. Yeah,
they're all stuntmen, all right. They
yeah.
It's a movie. Get over it.
Yeah, it's all stunts and makeup, man. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I think having one skull split is probably the most merciful death you could have, actually.
What, split in the skull?
By Conan.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it's better than being guillotined. Being guillotined was invented as a merciful alternative to having an incompetent headsman give several chops to your neck, whereas, with the guillotine, it was kind of surgical. But this is even better. Having your head split down the middle, I would have thought.
Pretty quick death.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, this is what the podcast is about. Just talking about merciful ways of death.
That's we're just prepping for next week.
Next week.
It's better than lingering in a nursing home.
Yeah, well, it's also, I thought that was actually a good point too, that Kes brought up, which I made fun of, but it's also quite true. Like, the only deaths were split skulls most of the time. Slashed throats, but those were done by the Picts, and it was always slashed throats when it was done by the Picts. So I thought, there is a very samey feel to the outcome of the deaths. And now I'm like really curious. I wonder why.
Perhaps. Go on.
The thing to do is to read the story, get bowled over it, and then at your leisure maybe explore some of these things as we're doing now. But we ought to emphasize that that's got nothing to do with the actual enjoyment of the stories as it's being read for the first time. It's like an
You mean
impression-
reading about skulls being split is not enjoyable?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Howard has the ability to pull the wool over the reader's eyes whenever he feels like it. That's to say, if you're a proper reader, it's like as if you've signed something to say, I don't mind having the wool pulled over my eyes while I'm reading this story.
Right.
That's the way to read a story.
Suspension of disbelief, we call that in filmmaking.
Suspension of not just disbelief, but suspension of the critical faculties. You know what I'm saying? You just read it.
Well, that never turns off for me, so unfortunately for you, Rob.
Well, he did
I'm
say
talking-
proper reader.
Proper reader. So yeah, okay, I'm not a proper reader.
I don't think any of us are proper readers, are we? Because we're all writers. So
I
it
think
means
Rob
that
is. I think Rob
we're
is the
kind of-
golden standard.
Well, it's because we're all editing as we read. We're all thinking about, would we put it this way? Would we not put it this way? And I think it actually is, to Howard's credit, that he manages to almost 100% pull it off.
I was in Tower of the Elephant. I was like, wow, these are all stuff that I can use sometimes.
Well, there you go. Yeah, exactly. So what about some info on Howard himself? Because I know nothing about this guy. I've just read this one story and it bowled me over. So who is this man called Howard? You mentioned H.P. Lovecraft. I didn't know anything about that connection. I just know the story was written in 1935.
Yeah.
Rob?
He was a Texan. He lived in a place called Cross Plains in Texas. And as far as I have read the biography of Howard, as far as I can tell, it was the last place on earth that you would expect an author like Howard to grow up. You'd expect someone who wrote action stories about Texan oilmen or cowboys or something, yes. But Howard had a real intuitive grasp of history, and I don't know how he did it. I don't know how he did it living in Cross Plains, Texas. I really don't. I just had a really good library there, maybe. But you wouldn't expect that. Also in Texas in the 1920s. I don't know. Perhaps I've underestimated the place, maybe.
Okay, now we'll get all these comments from Texans. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll give this
Sounds
podcast.
like
underestimate.
Texas. Whoa, yeah.
dogs.
No, actually, it's not quite like that. It's that I think I like the idea of America in the 1920s. There's lots about it I like, and because all the weird tales geniuses, Howard himself, Clark Ashton Smith, H.P. Lovecraft, they were all in widely different parts of America. Howard in Texas, Smith in California, and Lovecraft in New England. It's like they're nicely distributed. And I can understand the background of Lovecraft in New England. I'm not sure about the other two. I don't really know how they did what they did.
I think Robert was actually
for Kaz's benefit. Robert E. Howard, H.P. Lovecraft, and Clark Ashton Smith shared a friendship that was quite deep, I think.
They never met, but they corresponded.
Yeah, they wrote to each other all the time.
Yeah.
I think, from what I know, that he was very deeply connected to his mother. Like he was really respectful of women in general, actually. Like, and you can see that in the story too, where he portrays the women in the moment of the crisis. Like they, they're there for action. Some of them, the pregnant one and the more younger ones are kind of lost, and then you see this older woman kind of like taking charge and even helping Balthus on the way, getting her hand.
That was great. Yeah, as a woman, I just thought, that was kind of like the way I would have thought. If you were a woman with a lot of experience, then you would be that kind of a take charge kind of a person. And I was very happy to see that characterization, and that just only increased my love of Conan.
Okay, please go on, Nikki.
Conan is a player, though. Like, if you read any of his other stories.
Well, you see, you sent those panels, right? You sent a couple of panels before the podcast began, and I sort of got that impression and of course, yeah, because he's kind of like this super alpha male from the depths of the wilderness, complete barbarian. I mean, I wouldn't expect him to say to love, honor, and obey till death do us part. Of course not. So yeah, sure. There was definitely that vibe. Yeah.
Just so you don't get a false impression that he
No, actually, no, I didn't. But still, it was good characterization of women, especially from such an early time, right? 1935, which was when that story came out.
Did Robert E. Howard have any main female characters in his stories other than Red Sonja?
Oh yeah. In A Witch Shall Be Born, for example, although it's a very evil one, but it's a main female character. And there are others, but I'm sorry to say that I can't cite chapter and verse.
Dark Agnes was one of his characters. She's from the 16th century France, and she was basically, he never published those stories. They were published later after he died, but yeah, she's a female protagonist. And for the first two stories that he wrote about her, the Sword Woman and Blades of France, or Blades for France, she kind of acts as this very titular character who's very stoic and understands the world around her. And then the third thing, Mistress of Death, she is a bit more of a how do we say, scantily clad heroine. Let's put it that way. Not really scantily clad. She doesn't actually like appear in a bikini.
Well, I mean, the name says it all.
Yeah, I just remembered now. There's one Conan story, The People of the Black Circle. A very good female lead in that one. Yeah.
What was it called? Frost Giant's daughter or something? Wasn't that also one of his? I can't remember.
For ages. I can't really remember much about that.
Well,
anyway, I'm going to go glom. I'm going to go glom Conan right now. I'm just going through the first Lensman at the moment. I stumbled across that. And so I'm going through that, right? E.E. Doc Smith, because I also loved E.E. Doc Smith when I was a kid. So but I shall start actively searching for Robert E. Howard stories from now on. So thank you, guys. I appreciate that.
Yeah, Howard had a very tragic end to his life. He basically learned his mother. She had tuberculosis all of her life. And basically at the later stages of her own existence, she went into a coma from which the doctors basically said she won't recover. And Howard committed suicide. He walked out of a car and shot himself, basically. So very tragic end for an author who could have done so much more.
A really talented writer.
Was he 30? Oh,
he was 30.
He was 30, wasn't he?
Was he? Oh my God, that's even worse.
Yeah.
God,
man.
Yeah, and I think I don't know about Clark Ashton Smith, but none of the Howard and H.P. Lovecraft didn't strike me as very happy men.
No. I think Smith was probably the happiest of the three, although he had his troubles. He married very late in life, and he and his wife got on very well, but his stepsons didn't like him at all.
I can't remember why, but I remember that he what's it called? I think Robert had like a weird nickname, Two Gun Bob or something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Really?
But I don't remember why. Do you remember why he had that nickname?
I think it might have been Lovecraft who called him that. I don't know.
Well, he was from Texas, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Two Gun Bob.
Two Gun Bob. I mean, if I were to guess why he earned that nickname, is because of his writing style. It's all like keeps on going, keeps on circulating, and you can even see that. So in the Beyond the Black River is quite longer than the Tower of the Elephant and the God in the Ball, the two that we've looked at previously, the two stories. And here, although it takes longer, it goes on for a longer time, the pacing doesn't change, and the swiftness of action is so palpable that even in the quiet moments, you basically know that a second later and something is about to emerge, something is about to happen. I really wonder what would it be like if he had several Conan novels. Would it be the same? Would be able to write novels in this style?
Well, he did write one. He wrote
Just one.
Just one, yeah. And that to me is one of the really best supreme novels in literature. I think it's perfectly balanced. So I'm glad we're going to do that one very soon.
Hour of the Dragon is called.
The Hour of the Dragon, yes. Pretty useless name for the book.
So many these. Useless.
Yeah. Beyond the Black River is a good title, but The Hour of the Dragon is a really pathetic title for a book which has no dragons in it. But never mind.
Yeah,
right.
Or hours.
No dragons, I'm out. Yeah.
No dragons, I'm out. Beyond the Black River as a title is it tells you everything you need to know about the story, right? It's like beyond the frontier, beyond the Black River. What's beyond it? You need to see. The character of Conan is very well pronounced in the story, as we said. But something interesting that I found was, although you fall in love with Conan no matter what story you pick up, for 6 chapters straight, basically, he's not the character we follow, quote unquote. We are mostly in the shoes of Balthus, right? As he survives, and then eventually does not survive the ongoing situation. So that was interesting to be not in the shoes of Conan for a while. But then he saved the best for last, right? As soon as we get into the scene where we are once again behind Conan's shoulder, basically, he gets to kill a swamp demon, so that's cool. Something that I really disliked as a kid was I was promised demons, but there was no demons there. So I wanted like horned creatures with fur and stuff. But upon reading it as a mature adult, hopefully, as an adult, all right, not a mature, as an adult, you're terrible. The impression I get of what he was trying to tell with the fact that it is these like creatures of nature that are there against Conan, and the fact that all things, no matter how little or large their brains are, as he describes it, they all followed this powerful god. They all understood that they would need to kneel before him. So, I guess it's okay that there are no real swamp demons.
What was the creature that he fought at the end? The avatar of the sorcerer.
That's not his avatar. It's his half brother.
His half brother.
Yeah. So the daddy Zog had 2 sons. And one of them is the sorcerer, and the other of them is the swamp demon. And the swamp demon basically shares a life pool with the sorcerer, and that's why he's been able to live on for forever, right? There are these 2 like mythical creatures, but at birth they basically had this untethering connection that cannot be broken, which means when one takes some sort of damage, the other does so as well.
What was the physical description of the demon?
By
then I wasn't able to focus. Yeah.
It was basically the manifestation of the sorcerer, but in flame, and sort of like edged out, more pronounced, like with longer ears and large talons and stuff. So yeah, I think the visage, that's what I'm saying. Like as a child, I was very disappointed that we didn't get to see like an actual swamp demon. I wanted him to, because there was this tension about just seeing the flame, and we were about to be told how crazy this creature looks like, but then it doesn't really look that crazy. So
Okay.
And
Well,
that scene was way too short. That fight scene was too short.
Yeah, I have to echo that disappointment that Nikki had when he was a wee lad reading Conan, the Beyond the Black River. I was thinking to myself, like, when the saber-toothed tiger came into the village, I was like, really? That's it? Yeah. But then maybe this is jaded artist speaking, because the monsters that we paint and sculpt these days just is a little bit more awe-inspiring than a saber-toothed tiger, I suppose.
Well, it depends how it's described. I think Howard's Sabretooth in this story was done as well as it could be done, because he goes on about how small its brain was, and I think that's
Yes.
nice.
I was quite struck by that description, actually. I was like, why is this here?
Because he's trying to describe that no matter how small or big your brain was, everything in the forest understood that you worshipped Daddy Zog, right? That he's the best.
No,
Really?
no,
Is
it
that-
was no XJ. No, XJ was right on that one. It was the size of the brain to show how primitive that the saber-toothed tiger was, right? That
Right,
it
yeah,
wasn't
but that's-
capable of any higher thought or anything like that.
It's totally over specialized just as a killing machine. And that
Right,
was an
right.
effective touch.
Yeah. Well, either way, I was hoping for something, a description along the lines of the God in the Bow. That was a bit. That was a little bit more fantastical, rather than just a giant snake, a big muscly tiger, or a giant spider.
Well, it's the fact that these beings came when called that is eerie. It's
I suppose. Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
He's a druid, all right? He's a druid, and
Basically, he's a druid.
Who's a druid?
The sorcerer.
the sorcerer.
Zorga Sag.
Okay. Yeah.
Who did you think we were talking about?
Well, I don't know. That's why I asked. That's why I'm
This is
asking.
That's why
this
you
is
asked.
Maybe
a
there was
very-
somebody I missed. I mean, I don't know, right? The first Conan story. Give me a break here.
Well, the best character in the story is besides Conan is clearly Slasher, right? So
Oh yeah,
haven't heard
Slasher.
anything
Oh
about
yeah,
Slasher yet.
yeah. I mean, Slasher is fantastic because I'm a real dog person. My dog is over there sleeping right now. So yes, I really like Slasher.
Yeah.
I found it's a really a dog's fate that he gets to survive like the one assault by Picts to just die in another assault by Picts. So that really sucks. I wish that at the end of the story, like somehow Slasher survives and goes with Conan. Then he's got
Yeah,
the
I was.
laptop
Yeah,
and
I
he's
was
screwed.
wondering whether that was going to happen as well. Yeah, yeah,
Well,
that would have been kind of cute.
Conan does say that 7 Pictish skulls will answer for.
That's
Slash.
true. Yeah, he said like
it's not the same thing though, because I suppose because it's episodic, you can't have Conan sort of with his entourage, right, going through too many stories because it just complicates things so much. So I can understand why Slasher didn't make it through, but it would have been cute if he had.
that is something actually I mentioned in the first time we ever spoke about Conan, actually in our very first episode. Tower of the Elephant. Most of the time, Robert has to make it so that Conan kind of fails at the end. Perhaps not as spectacular as he fails like in Beyond the Black River, but like the jewel in the Tower of the Elephant, right? Like he doesn't get that. Yeah, he doesn't really get that much riches, and whenever he gets the riches, it's presumed that he basically drinks them all away. And now it's we basically get to see him when he wakes up drunk, like, oh no, I guess I gotta go adventure again. God, like.
Yeah, but that kind of mechanism provides a reset of the clock so that the story can start again. So
Excuse me.
Yeah, but he's gradually moving up in the world, isn't he? I mean,
Totally.
each event tends to be more prestigious than the last, until in the end he ends up as a king.
And of course that's foreshadowed in Beyond the Black River, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he says, I've been this, and I've been a general, and I've been this, and who knows, I might even be a king one day. Ha ha ha. And you sort of go, oh, okay, so that's where this is going. All right, fair enough.
Right. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Do we have any last word for Beyond the Black River?
2 thumbs up from me.
There you go.
same here.
Oh yeah, you too. We were expecting that from the both of you.
Yeah, as I said, there
it
is
doesn't even
not
count,
I
actually.
don't know an actual Robert E. Howard story that I would say was bad. So, so it
They
doesn't
don't
really.
count.
Mhm.
Yeah, they don't count, XJ. What about you? I mean, we
Yeah.
know Nikki is going to give it like 10 thumbs up, and we know that Rob is going to give it 10 thumbs up, right? So
True.
what about you, XJ?
What? Robert E. Howard?
Yeah, this particular story, darling.
Oh, yeah. I've basically said everything I wanted to say. I'm just like sorry that I was not able to give the story like its
Full analysis.
a full analysis that accurately reflects what the story is worth. Just because like the last act of the story, I was just plowing through. I was just like trying to soldier on. Yeah.
So maybe 1 thumb up, though? Would at least you give it at least 1 thumb
Have a
up?
thumbs up.
Yeah, so thumbs up.
I'm being
Thumbs
very
up from
careful
XJ.
here. Okay, just half a thumb.
There it is. Yeah. Oh,
No, I think like I said, I was really quite taken with the way the forest was described, and I am a very atmosphere guy. For me, setting is and environment is more carries a bigger weight than characters. Yeah.
I'm the same, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in its own way, an environment can be its own character, just like the forest here.
of course. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Mm.
It's like that in the Edgar Rice Burroughs' Barsoom books, I think, the Mars books. That one falls in love with Barsoom as a planet, no matter how annoying some of the characters in it may be.
Yes.
Wants to go on
True.
reading it.
Okay. Anything else that we want to throw out before we end the podcast?
Yeah, there is something I wanted to say. First of all, great story. But second of all,
Great story. Third of all,
great story.
Great story.
Third of all, Robert E. Howard, great guy. No, there is a visage of Conan in the popular media as an unstoppable killing machine that can't be thwarted in any way, shape, or form. And I think what's interesting in this story is he basically looks at the situation that's currently ongoing. Like when he's on the boat with Balthus, and he just turns to him and goes like, "Yeah, the city's gone. We can do nothing about this." And the fact that sort of, even though Conan the Barbarian is, the pinnacle of human survival, and even he can look at something and say like, "Hey, that may be insurmountable," that is a lesson to everybody.
That really impressed me about Conan, the fact that he was able to be so clear-headed about things. He didn't just rush in with thoughtlessly, right? He was able to go, the fort's gone. Let's move on. Plan B.
So
Right,
the
and-
moral of the story is we will all fail at some point. Don't get too hung up on it.
Yeah, failure is just
Yeah.
another part of life. And when even Conan the Barbarian agrees with that, it's true.
Endorsed by Conan the Barbarian, so you know it's true. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, he's the best.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fanboy.
Absolutely.
I'm not hiding it.
All right, and
Love
this
Conan.
is as good a place to end the podcast as any. So, Nikki, shut us down.
Thank you all so much for watching tonight's episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you didn't, leave a comment. If you did, leave a comment. Like it even if you didn't like it. Tell all your friends about it. Tell your
Subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe. Become a spam emailer for us. Just send links constantly. Learn Python to write scripts in order to send more emails out.
Make
and
sure
we
it's
won't-
3.8 because it ain't backward compatible with 3.7.
and we won't
Right.
disappoint. We will keep on reviewing short stories for your enjoyment.
And
Okay,
if you
cool.
if you meet a demon, just whack it with your sword. Don't do
Yeah,
That's true.
With an
exactly.
axe. Remember to split its skull.
Yeah,
Split the
split it-
skull.
split
That's
it.
the thing. Yeah.
That's the Conan way. All right. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.